Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ryan and Brian Talk Sports. I actually don't know what I look like, but apparently, according to Ryan and our producer, my camera's broken.
It's
So
not great.
if you can't see me, consider yourself lucky. I don't know why this camera has given me issues in the past. See, like I'm looking on the stream, and I look fine. I have it on my phone.
Ooh, maybe we'll
I
catch a
look,
break. It
It's a
actually does
I
look pretty
don't.
good on the stream.
it's a little better than it was 10 seconds ago.
Okay, see,
Look
they
at
can
that.
see me. See, okay, I just tweeted out that my camera broken for no reason. I'm just gonna have to stay really still. But yeah, this is Ryan and Brian Talk Sports, presented by Pickett Sports and Props.cash. I guess we have a large slate again. When
Yeah.
you look at the two games you have, and I would say it's two games that with blowout potential, but at this point in the NBA, I'm seeing people comment on Twitter saying I'm only going to touch NBA games now with the spread under five because
Doesn't
under
matter.
five it doesn't matter. Yeah, I actually like this is not even a betting complaint. I was really excited to watch the Cavs and the Bucks game yesterday, and I think the Bucks were down 26 like coming into the middle of the second, and they made a little bit of a run. They
Yeah.
made it kind of competitive near the end, but they never closed within 14, and it was just never a game where I was really worried about either team, uh, you know, losing their lead. So
Yeah, for
it was
sure.
insult. It was insult to injury for the betting side, just because Brooke Lopez is now my mortal enemy. But other than that,
The rebounding
only been
machine, the glass cleaning machine, Brooke Lopez.
dude, he doesn't rebound at all. And it pissed me off that like there's nothing worse than having a rebound under though, in terms of every rebound he got was tipped out. Like his I was looking at the stats, like his average rebounds was like from like 10 feet out last night. He just got like the craziest tip out rebounds, and that shit kills me when you have an under and you just see like a fumbled rebound squeak out to your guy and just it just is not it's not fun to watch. But
Well,
yeah, it was all right.
at least the he had like an offensive foul on a rebound at one point and they counted it. At least they took that back away. If
Yeah,
they
which
left that, that would have been pretty bad. But I guess it wouldn't have mattered either way.
yeah, well, it was one of those things where I knew it wasn't a rebound, so I took the under 6.5 live just because I knew they'd take that away. Because so I did hit on that, but it's annoying. It's only annoying because his last rebound, he only had one rebound in the second half, and it was an offensive tip in where he just went like this, and like the ball hit off his like freaking like knuckles and like rimmed in and like and went for a basket, and because it's a basket, it's an offensive rebound, and I was just like. Oh,
Nice.
whatever. It is what it is. I actually was mentioning it to someone earlier because like the last two slates have killed me, and I wish I was just completely wrong. Like I wish I was wrong and I could take a day off and like rethink things and maybe like try a different direction. But everything that I'm playing is like right in the realm where I thought I'd be. Like I took Bencaro yesterday,
Yeah.
and I just need one more assist. But like he had the bunch of chances for the assist. So like it's like I wish I was completely wrong with my cap so I could, rethink how I'm doing it. But everything is just right there in just
No,
like
it's just
horrible
more of a reason to
fashions.
keep pushing, in my opinion. At the end of the day, we can't really control the outcomes, but if we're, seeing the board okay, I mean, the results obviously suck and it's painful, but I mean, just you're right there. So might as well just keep on plugging along. And I believe you have 13 plays for today on our 3 game slate.
Yeah, I actually do you have an NBA plays? Because I don't even know
I
who's
have
in
one.
yet.
I have one
Okay,
play
so
for
I don't have
tonight's
one.
NBA.
And that's not to say I won't have one, but these are two teams where who I mean I know Zion's out, but I
Yes.
don't like there's no props out for the Spurs. The Jazz Wizards when I checked, they didn't really have anything out at the moment. So I yeah, they only have Jazz props because I don't know who's playing for the Wizards. You don't really know who's playing for anybody until about like 6 minutes before the tip, and then
Yeah.
even that you're not really sure.
The Pelicans seem pretty set. So that's actually where my bet is on the Pelicans. Um, they're fairly set. Um, other than that, we're pretty much a mystery. I'm waiting on Underdog to release their report. I'd imagine Porzingis is kind of what we're waiting on Washington wise. I think Beal and Kuzma should be fine. Um, I think Spurs props leaked out on FanDuel not too long ago, but we'll be waiting on Keldon
Yeah, I
Johnson,
just
I believe,
checked.
in that game.
Yeah, I
So,
just checked. There is some Vassell's props, but yeah, Tingus Pingus should be out. I just
oh, Vassell and
this
Trey
is
Jones, yeah.
so what is your prop? Is it CJ McCollum's assist? That's what the chat's wondering. That's what I was looking
Um,
at, but it's
it is
just
not. It was definitely heavily debated, and I do think it's a really solid play. He's had good success. You know, we are talking a small sample size nonetheless, but in the 2 games that he played without Zion and Brandon Ingram, I believe he had 9 and 11 assists. I was slightly scared away. He had a lot of good fortune in those games. He only averaged 13 potential assists and converted 10. So I mean, basically, he converted 20 out of 26 assist chances in those 2 games, which is kind of hard to replicate. But with the Spurs defense, I mean, it's definitely something that I like. I didn't officially play it though.
that's fair. I will say I do like the McCollum look for assists. I even like last night with Bankero, I was I don't call it a hook because assists are like just how it is. But I mean his 4+ assists was minus 250.
Ooh,
And
10 subs.
oh wow, is that from
An
oh
anonymous
wow, that's
sister. Thank you. I appreciate that.
wow.
Also, the comment right above it said, "Is Zion expected to be out tonight?" He is. Health and safety
He's
protocol.
he's he's ruled out, which honestly I don't know if that really means anything. We'll have to circle back 10 minutes for a tip when he's in the lineup somehow. No, he's definitely out because
Yeah.
I think health and safety is one of those things you can assume he's out. If it was anything else, I wouldn't even know anymore because I think Murray was ruled out of the Hawks game Monday. He was ruled out and then he was upgraded to game time decision and then upgraded to questionable and then it was in. So you never really know. But yeah, Zion's definitely not going to play. But my point with the assist prop is I just hate paying juice for assists because as shown yesterday with the Magic game, I think the first quarter I was watching it, he had to have 3 or 4 good passes that would lead to assist and just bricks. And I think he scored 14 of his points in the first quarter, so he was the only one going. So,
I had
yeah,
his over 21.5 and I was sweating balls the last 3 quarters after
he
it was going to be
really
81.
likes to just end at 20. I really think there's something to taking him 20 plus and under 24.5. The odds have to be plus money, right? You
Oh, yeah,
think they
it would
have
have to
to,
be.
and he does it every game. He
Pretty
does it every
much.
game.
He's very consistent. I mean, he did have that 31-point explosion against Boston of all teams, but he hit 6 threes. So that's a little bit of an anomaly. I mean, otherwise, he has a game with 9 this month. He has a game with 18 this month. Excluding those 3, he went for 23, 20, 20, 20, 23, 23, 20, 22. Holy shit.
Wow.
Talk about
Yeah.
some consistency, dude. It's kind of
He
crazy.
really is OCD about scoring inside of 20 to 25. He won't get you 25. Don't worry about that. Just stick in the 20 to 24 range. It's very
Yeah.
and like last night when he scored 14, I was thinking, wow, he might actually go off finally. And then he made sure to slow down to end at 23. He made sure, and I think he got his last bucket on
It
like
was a
a
minute and a
late game,
half.
yeah, late game layup. I was watching it. I remember it because I was hoping he was going to pass out for the open three. That selfish bastard.
Fair enough. Well, it was odd because he played, I'm pretty sure, almost the full 12. He might have gotten pulled a couple seconds before the first quarter ended, but then he sat like 8 minutes and 40 seconds. And he came back in and he was just cold
Yeah,
as ice. And it's just like, what the fuck are they doing? They play him 37 minutes all the time.
yeah,
And then all of a
he had a
sudden,
9 minute, he had a 3 minute run to end the second quarter, which was interesting because
yeah.
I mean at that point, just let him run, play some higher minutes. I mean, I was a little confused by that, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
I do think
Unexpected.
there was only 1 or 2 games yesterday that at no point was like a 15-point game at some point. I was looking at the Twitter screenshots of the NBA where
Yeah.
everything just seemed to be, you know, out of reach a little bit. I think this, yeah, I mean the Bulls
Bulls
Hawks
and
game was
Hawks,
the one
that was a blowout at
good
one
game.
point, but the Hawks made it a nice game.
Yeah, they came back and ever since I made fun of Trey Young for not hitting threes, he I think hit 17 last night.
He hit
Uh
7 of 14 threes last night.
yeah, it's so funny
Wow.
that you can't tell me that sometimes people don't see the media or see things. You know, you're telling me all of a sudden Trey Young is just now shooting like 50% from three. I don't know, man. I feel like one of his friends had to be like, "Yo, they forgot who you were," or like whatever
Oh
it
my
was, and
goodness
now
gracious.
he's just hooping.
Hold sorry,
What are you looking at now? What's
we
your
got 10 more subs from Props.cash.
Oh, because you're CJ
All right.
McCollum. Yeah,
That's right.
that was your
CJ last
legacy
week.
play. Yeah, the CJ McCollum play was
That's
your
awesome.
legacy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Props.Kosh. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
shout out CJ. It's a shame I'm not running back a CJ prop tonight.
I
Not that I
will.
do both later, but
Do you want to share what your lock of the century for tonight?
no, not really. I was just gonna keep it to myself.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Taking a bold strategy. No, of course, of course.
Thank you guys for watching Ryan O'Brien talk sports.
Yeah, appreciate
That's
you
all we
guys
have.
tuning in.
Yeah, let's get. Actually, wait, we were going we have NBA first. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought so.
NBA.
So yeah, so we can cover your prop, and then I don't really want to talk too much about the Washington game because I think Tingus Pingus is like the biggest key into how that game will be played, especially with how bad Utah is in the paint area. Like I mean, they used to have this guy Rudy Gobert, and
Never heard of
uh,
him.
they they in turn they don't have a paint defense, but now they have 17 first round picks in the next 6 years. So it's a trade off, but they are very weak in the paint. So
Very
if
much so.
Tigges does play, I do think he'd be a good look as long as you assume he's healthy and ready to go. He should have a good inside look there.
Very much so.
But what was your plays in the other game? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's on the Pelicans, but it's not CJ. I'm actually going to go with a guy who's been a little bit cold this month, but I like this opportunity for him to step up, and that's Trey Murphy over 14.5 points. Is minus 110 on DraftKings at the time of taking. I checked right before the show; it was still minus 110. FanDuel's sitting this at minus 122. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 15.5 at one point. He hasn't really been that great this month, but when you look at the matchups, granted, he's had a couple easy matchups, but he's done fairly well in them. But he's had some brutal matchups. Four of his last 6 games. I'm sorry, 4 of his last 5 games have either been against the Phoenix Suns or the Milwaukee Bucks. So with that has come some pretty low scoring totals for him. But it's a nice spot. We've mentioned that Ingram's out, Zion's out. This has happened in 2 occasions this season. One game was against Dallas and one game against the Suns again. In those games, he played 34.5 minutes and he dropped 22 on the Mavericks. He dropped 13 on the Suns. So he hit 1 out of 2 on this line. I think it's a really interesting spot for him. They are home. He's much better at home. His shooting splits are 50% from the field, 44.6% from three, and 97% from the free throw line at home. He averages almost 14. And then on the road, he shoots 40% from the field, 33.8% from three, and then 86% from the line. He averages just over 10 points. So we see a pretty substantial difference in home and road splits. So we get the home split tonight, thankfully. And then finally, the matchup is just truly wonderful. Shooting guards against Spurs has been something I've targeted quite frequently throughout this year. So I found it interesting. I as soon as I read that Zion was out last night, he was kind of the first person that popped into my mind. I was like, I wonder where they're going to list him. And I was pretty pleasantly surprised with the 4.
Did Ryan lose out? Wow, see, in this regard, everyone was worried about me and my camera and my internet connection, and now it's Ryan that we lost. But to piggyback off what he was talking about, Trey, Trey is also listed at 13.5 on FanDuel when I'm looking at his, lines shopping around. So if you actually wanted to pay the juice, Ryan mentioned it is minus 122 on FanDuel, but it's minus 122 at 13.5. And this is an avenue where if you like CJ McCollum's assist, which is wow, CJ McCollum actually has his 6.5 assists on FanDuel is minus 150. So if you're looking there, there's not much value for his assist prop. So I do think Trey Jones is someone that benefits from Zion being out. It kind of sucks that Ryan is lost because I was in the process of looking up what his usage looks like without Zion, but I would imagine it goes up, which I'll find as soon as Ron gets back so he can handle his side of the analysis why I was doing this. But hold on. Yeah, so in this matchup, I do believe Ryan is in the chat and he's very, very confused. This is actually a good this makes for good TV whenever Ryan magically disappears. It's like the third time it's happened. But I don't know if you guys have anything to chat you guys were looking to as well in this game. I actually was in a weird way thinking that this could be a good spot for an under for CJ McCollum, only because I'm seeing 26.5 for his points to some books. And I mean, even without Zion, this is a 9-point spread, and Keldon Johnson might not play. If you want to have a textbook game that looks like it could be a blowout, it likely would be this one. But I'm not really sure what exactly I would play in this game unless you're looking for. Okay, StatMuse says use straight without Zion is 15%. And that's actually like it sounds scarier than it is. I was gonna try to look at some of his scoring numbers with and without, which is I'm trying to pull up here. But Trey, I mean, Trey is just a guy that doesn't necessarily see a lot of usage either way. So I think one of the Ryan's angles here would be with Trey Murphy is that he's safe in a blowout. Not saying like it's gonna be a blowout, but if things get out of hand, I would see guys starters such as CJ McCollum resting a little bit early. I would see some of those other guys you might have play heavier minutes. Trey Jones and Trey Murphy both should have a great overall matchup here. So let me get this up. So Trey Murphy, his points are 16.4 in minutes without Zion. And okay, see that's actually comforting. So if you assume he plays in that 34 to 30, increased minutes, he scores close to 16.5 points without Zion. Hey Ryan, what's going
All
on?
right. Holy moly. Where did I leave off?
Yeah, his usage actually drops without Zion, but I think his scoring goes up, which I don't really care much about the usage as long as if we need points. That's really what
I don't really anticipate him taking like 17 shots or anything quite like that. Like I think he gets 12, 8 or from 3, and he has a really good matchup to be efficient and get 15 points. I don't think he'll take up like a tremendous amount of usage. At the end of the day, he's mostly a spot up shooter and a little bit of a cutter. So he's not really going to dribble the ball at the floor and set up his own shot. So I actually don't have too much worry about his usage considering how he is used, if that makes any sense. Doesn't really concern me too much. I would assume that my son downstairs flicked off our Wi-Fi and I lost connection. So, but we're back, baby. We're back better than ever.
I will say it's only funny because I was trying to bring up his stats with and without Zion on the court. And when you left, I was in the middle of that. So I didn't have my talking points ready. So you just balanced, which is interesting because before the show, I caught a lot of flock for my camera and my internet. And Ryan actually offered to Venmo me money to pay for my internet connection so I don't lose connection during the show. And I need to find your Venmo now because I'm definitely going to send you some money to help with your Boost Mobile connection.
The irony is palpable.
What?
The irony.
The irony. Oh, the irony. Yes, it's very, very ironic. Funnily enough,
that's pretty good though.
More ironic is we always make that Boost Mobile joke with JD and everyone in the Discord with the Boost Mobile connection. My credit card actually got I got calls and they said I have suspicious activity on my credit card and they asked if I made 6 purchases to Boost Mobile. And I thought it was a prank because I thought Boost Mobile wasn't like out of business for like 10 years. So I thought it was a scam call and I hung up on them. And then I got a call from my credit card agent and she was like, "Did you hang up on a fraud call?" And I actually did have fraud on my card because they were shopping at Boost Mobile. And I hung up on the guy's in the guy's face because I thought he was scamming me. So Boost Mobile is still a thing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
but
what we use over here, dude. Don't miss it. Come on, give me a break.
But Ryan is back, and
yes,
we can finally have a show where we can talk about sports without me. You actually missed it. You were gone, so I had to do interpretive dance until you got back, and we actually lost 58% of our audience because they did not. It was really raw. It was a raw interpretive dance. It's not for the faint of heart. But yeah, I do think threes are a good look. You're
I do
looking
too.
at Murphy
I'm
here.
definitely not hesitant if you wanted to go the 3 route. I fully support it.
I actually, what's his, because his Trey Murphy's line is 14.5. What's his, that's not far off his usual line with Zion either.
Yeah, that was one of the points I made back when I was talking to myself before I realized it. It's funny, while I was over here talking to myself, not realizing that it was my problem. I even said, okay, so Brian's frozen now because he has shitty internet. So I was just sitting here
Yeah.
talking to myself. But one of my talking points on this matchup was that the line is it's been 11.5 or 12.5 for most games over the past couple weeks. So like 14.5 is not really that significant of a jump. And granted, he's not going to swallow all 20 shots that Zion's not going to be there to take, but I could see him getting 4 or 5 more. And I really think that's all he'll need in this kind of matchup. So like, the usage is definitely something worth noting. He's not going to be a dribble the ball up the floor, set up his own, create his own shot kind of guy for the most part. I think he'll benefit a lot from CJ passes and things like that. But the matchup's too good to resist this line, and I definitely think that we could see a nice 18-point performance from him tonight.
No, I agree. And I also was looking, I finally had the stats now that Ryan was able to field some of the talking points as I was able to do my side research there. Is he averages a whole 2 points per 36 more without Zion. So that's a basket. So that's substantial in terms of, usage. Not his usage might go down, but his scoring goes up a basket. And when you're looking at a little bit inflated of a line without Zion, I think that is a encouraging thing to think about, that he can have an extra maybe 2 field goal attempts, which could be the difference in it being a 12.5 line or 14.5 line.
Yeah.
And the only thing with threes is, as I kind of touched on earlier, with the Jazz not having an interior defense, the Spurs don't have an interior defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets scoring from all levels. If he, has, say, 10 or plus field goal attempts, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are right at the rim, because, I mean, they're dealing with injuries. I know Jakob Poeltl's been in and out. He's back at the moment. They have, Zach Collins has been in and out. They just have not really had that interior presence at all. It's been kind of horrendous to walk. The only power forward to not attack the rim against them is Jabari Smith, who just kind of, I swear, there's some offensive possessions. There's some offensive possessions I think Jabari Smith can pull out a lawn chair and set it up on the corner 3, and you would not notice a difference in how the offense runs. There's times where
agree.
He PJ Tuckers it out there sometimes. He just sets up a lawn chair and he just sits out there, and the offense runs as if he's just out and about.
Yeah, in Porter and Green's defense, through, I believe, 3-ish quarters, or maybe midway through the third, he led that team in field goal attempts. So it's another, it's such a, it could be a lame thing to say, but it felt like the right play, the wrong result.
No, and happens.
But 14 shots to get 14 points, I'm taking that every time.
Yeah, that's where I mentioned earlier, where I wish I was just wrong, because I took the PRA and he had what, 9 or 10 RAs and just didn't get the points. And I was like, dude, he makes one more bucket and I win. And he shot 14, which is Brian, that hat is killing me. This is actually it's an authentic Sandlot hat. I wore it for Halloween because I already have the thicker frame glasses. So
what? It's an authentic Sandlot hat?
I wanted Squints for Halloween. So he wears a black hat and then he wears these kind of glasses. So it was a super easy Halloween costume, and I'm wearing a green shirt right now, so I wore a black hat, so that way I didn't look like the guy with, because you can't wear green with like a red hat or anything. I guess Christmas, but I don't really want to do that. Yeah, I mean, apparently Christmas is coming. There's also a lot of NBA games on Christmas, but their combined records are like 30 and 56, because it's kind of funny to think that these are the teams that the NBA wanted to have on Christmas, and all of them are basically losing records or a play-in team for the most part.
At least the Sixers are back into a winning record. They started second.
Yeah, go Sixers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we covered the Trey Murphy. Do you want to move on to the NFL slate?
Well,
Because
the only thing I don't know what I didn't say. Did you catch the home and road splits?
I don't know. You cut out so fast that
Oh,
I
really?
just I blacked out too. And like I said, I had to make up with interpretive dance, which was,
Yeah.
we didn't really talk much sports while you were going. I tried to, because I don't really know much about sports. I just kind of let you handle things, and then I don't know if people realize I don't really talk much about sports on the show. I just come in with little blurbs, and then people are like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
That's honestly really funny to think about, like from a viewer standpoint. That you're gonna change everybody's perspective on your part in the show.
Yeah. Well, I will say some days I have high volumes on plays and I actually have the stats ready. Some days I come in, I have my general stats, and then I just hype you up. Like I'm the guy that stands behind you. Every high school movie you ever watch has that hype man where there's like that guy in the varsity jacket, and there's a guy like next to him that everything he says he just repeats it but louder.
Sure, sure.
That's kind of my role in this show today. I'm just letting you
Thanks,
you
dude. Yeah, it means a
letting
lot.
you rock. So talk
Uh,
about the home and away splits.
okay, assuming that you're not hearing this for the second time, let's just, I'm gonna wipe the slate clean here. This will be my last point though on it. Just in general, he's just been stronger at home, and it is fairly significant too. He's shooting 50% from the field, 44.6% from three, 97% from the free throw line. He averages almost 14 at home. In away games, he's shooting 40% from the field, 33.8% from three, 86% from the free throw line, averages 10.5 points. So fairly significant differences across the board there. Almost four
Fairly
more.
significant differences at home. See,
Yeah.
I was me.
You're supposed to say it louder, man.
I was a little louder. It was Stern. This is more of a Stern thing. He's 50% shooting at home. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
50.4 actually.
50.4. See, there you go. All right.
But
No, I do like that look. I do think, and you were going with your Boost Mobile, but I do think, as you mentioned, you have to almost try to figure it out sometimes in games you think it might get out of hand. You also want to figure out who's going to be playing in those late game situations. And I think if anyone gets a fourth quarter run in an ugly game, I would hope it'd be the Trey Murphys and not the CJ McCollums.
yeah,
So that also helps your case there.
for sure. And I'd imagine this might not come into play, and obviously not something to harp on too much. But if there's a technical, I would imagine he shoots that free throw because he's 92.7% free throw shooter. So maybe if we can sneak a point, I'll always fucking take that, especially on a low line like this. But who knows? You never know.
Yeah, and the Spurs play kind of how I play in 2K sometimes. They just try to get the quickest shot available off. They like to just, like, if there's 16 seconds left on the shot clock, they're doing something wrong. They play high, they play fast, and they don't really defend much. They're
Nope.
just hoping that they can outscore you with 150 points most nights.
Yeah. Somebody asked, did we mention a CJ McCollum 20 plus point prop leg? We did not technically. I didn't want to miss that. I'm sure it's not the prettiest odds in the world. He is minus 430 for 20 points. In theory, he should definitely score 20 here. He's got a great matchup just like everybody else. But at minus 430, I mean, I would hope that there's some better value out there somewhere, but you never know. But no, we did not talk about CJ scoring really. He's got that 25-5 line. And that's pretty much a stay away for me. I don't think, it's not that I don't think he can hit it, but pretty much a stay away for me. So that's a high line. And then the minus 430 for 20 points doesn't really scream value to me. I wouldn't necessarily touch that, but I'm also not much of a parlay guy. So I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, I do think he does. I do think he does have a good scoring night. I think everyone can have a good scoring night against the Spurs. That's just basically how things work. But yeah, 25.5. I saw 26.5 some books as well. That's just too
Really?
high, even for CJ. I mean, it's also a matter of, I wouldn't be surprised if he, scores 20 points, but also wraps up 8 or 9 assists in a big win. He gets the rest of the fourth and just kind of high five his way out of there and take it in for the next game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I wouldn't be too surprised myself.
yeah, and then I don't really want to touch much on the late game because, like I said, Tingus Pingus is kind of like the biggest player there because it also would imagine how I would, look into Jazz props, whether it be Laurie or Clarkson or anybody else in that roster. I think, I give Tingus a lot of shit, but he actually has been better this year.
He's
He
been
actually
really
had,
good.
he's actually been protecting the rim more, which was supposed to be his thing. He was supposed to be this unicorn that could protect the rim, and then on the Knicks, he just really disappointed. Not like offensively, he's always been flashy and fun to watch, but defensively, I feel like he kind of graduated college and he like left and then he just forgot how to do it. Like it's like a bicycle, but he just forgot how to ride it. He just stopped playing defense, but this year he's looked a lot better in the paint protection. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would take a Laurie under after he scored 40 last game just out of spite, but
I was gonna
I don't
bring
feel
him
like
up.
I feel like I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, that's a really interesting look because I think that game is all deciding about who's playing. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see some Beal injuries. Like there's just too much on the injury report right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping we'll probably get the underdog report during this show. Hopefully, we'll catch us up a little bit as far as what we're looking at there. I know Chris. Oh shit, it's been out for over an hour. Nice.
Yeah,
All right. Let's see here. Chris Stapps is questionable. Ryu Hachimura is available. And then Delon Wright doesn't really matter. He's injured. Kelly Olynyk is still out for the
the Olynyk Clinic, dude. I need the Olynyk
Olynyk
Clinic
Clinic.
back.
Yes, he
The Olynyk
unfortunately will be
Clinic.
out.
Dude, I played 2K with my brother, and he always plays Olynyk, and then he always be saying, yeah, Olynyk Clinic, and then he'd always take a three with them and be like, "You just got admitted." It cracks me up like
That's
every
awesome.
time. Yeah.
We actually
Um,
have props out for most of this game all of a sudden. We got
really,
Beal's a 23-5, Kuzma's a 21-5. Those seem to reflect that they anticipate a Porzingis return, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Monty Morris 9-5, Denny geez, I don't know, Denny 9.5 point line. So yeah, I'm surprised we actually have some lines. That Kuzma one kind of is
I do.
intriguing.
So is Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal is someone that can attack the paint really well. He
My
just
heart, I can't. My heart. I was on his points the last game where he had two at half, and I was just so pissed that night. And then he had the most miraculous second half ever, and that was just phenomenal. I don't know if my heart can handle another one though.
Someone in the chat asked if we took Trey Murphy over and what else. I don't have anything else in these games. I'm just trying to give an overall game breakdown of how I'm seeing it.
Yeah,
So I do think Bradley Beal is a good look at 23 and a half. I really wish there was more props out before the show so I could have given a more in-depth breakdown, but I do think Bradley
yeah.
Beal is someone that, especially if Tingus is out, I think 23 and a half almost shows that they think Tingus would be out because he's
Oh,
been
you
getting.
think it shows he'll be out?
I think so because Beal's been getting a lot of 20s, like 20, 21 and a halves. I do think Tinkus might, if he's in, I would just wait because I don't. Well, my point is, I don't think the line will skyrocket if he's out, but if he's in, then it would definitely drop. So if you like Beal, I feel like you can wait on the news because you might get a drop in the line if Tingus does play.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel you.
I will say Bradley Beal almost is a guy where if he scores 14 points in the first quarter, you could take his live under, and if he has 0 points in the first quarter, you could take his live over. I feel like you could just make bank live because he only plays 2 quarters. It just depends what quarters they are.
Yeah, that's a fact. I wonder what.
Yeah,
I know Alan in the Discord has been hitting on Walker Kessler blocks. I'm wondering what they'll list him as. But hey, I have poor connection. Thanks a lot, Boost Mobile.
oh, see,
We can
it
check
was
that later.
always you.
Yeah.
My biggest fan, Big Booty Hole 78, is in the chat. Love that. Love that. Uh, that's actually
I forgot to
actually
tell
my
you that
friend.
I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my crowd, the big booty.
You gotta love it.
Ryan gets nice handwritten letters sent to his office, my dearest Ryan, thank you so much, blah blah blah. And then my fans, I get like a rock thrown in my window. and it's like taped to it, just says "Love you." Everyone's Ryan Boost is solid. That's actually a good nickname for you. But
I'm not
back
mad
to
at
the props, I do think Laurie would have trouble if Tingus does play because the Washington defense has been solid this year. I will say they don't have any quote unquote lockdown defenders, but I was talking just about this last night where some teams have these amazing defenders, like on paper, the Nuggets, they have Jokic, Jamal Murray's supposed to be solid defensively. Bruce Brown's always been considered better defensively, and they're just ass. Like they don't play any defense.
Yeah.
Like the Wizards just play defense, which goes a long way in terms of coaching and how you play. And their defense has been very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a look if you wanted to attack, and there I would just wait to see the Tingus Pingus news. So that's my only thing.
Yeah.
So do you want to move on to Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, dude. Jets and Jags. That's why I woke up today. What the fuck?
The over-under is 37.5. And the Jets are favored by a point. So this is a crazy game to think about. I mean, I thought when I saw 37.5, I thought that was just the Jets total with Zach Wilson back. I thought that was their team total. I was confused.
That's right.
This team's electric. Not really, but they scored 17 last week. I think this line is funny because I know there's all NFL primetimes, all Thursday night go under. It almost makes you want to take the over, but this game, the last game the Jets played was 20-17 against the Lions. And if you can't clear 37.5 with a Lions team that plays zero defense and just hurls the ball 60 times a game,
yeah,
it's going to be tough to think they're going to score 38 between them and the Jags in this. It's going to rain. It's going to sleet. It's going to snow. I know weather's a myth, but I'm not too far from the Meadowlands, and the weather tonight is not supposed to be fun. But weather is a myth. I know that's going to be in the chat, but it does affect things in terms of, the Jaguars, pass defense is trash. Like they're, I think, 30th ranked in DVOA or 32nd DVOA against the pass. So I kind of looked into maybe Zach Wilson prompts, but I don't know if I think the Jets will trust him to throw. I'm not sure if they want him to be the guy that throws the ball 40 times unless he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely not. Especially if you considering the weather. I can't say I look too much into Zach. I think I almost just wake up, Jets are playing, and I don't even think for a second about Zach Wilson. I guess his rushing yards are fairly interesting at 12.5, but anything passing didn't really catch my eye. However, I mean, although it was only 20-17, he did throw for 317 versus the Lions, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, which made me upset because I actually was looking at his over last week, and the only reason I didn't play his over was because I was not sold that if he threw one pick, he would just get sent out of the stadium forever. I was just not sold on him playing the whole game if he did anything slightly wrong.
Yeah. 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. I'm actually, after the show's over, I'm going to the gym, going to the grocery store, and then just never leaving ever again. It's supposed to be kind of bad. I got the weather, whatever thing. I know weather's a myth, but I also don't like to drive, and then do that thing where I die. But yeah, so this is an interesting game. If you want a player prop that's probably gonna hit, it's probably Zach Wilson under 30.5 passing attempts, because that was a play that I really wanted to play. And the more I looked into it, I actually shifted gears into another prop that, works with it. And in my last week or two, what's been happening is I play the right game script. I play the right, how it works, but the wrong prop. But today I'm going to lead off with my prop because I'm taking Zonovan Knight. I'm actually on two of his props. Once again,
all right.
Well, they're basically the same thing, but okay. I didn't want to get screwed again where I took one and then missed out on the other. So I'm actually putting a half unit on his over 14.5 rushing attempts and over 57.5 rushing yards. So they go hand in hand. Sure. But this way, if he has 15 carries for 6 yards, I don't have to, I don't have to sit on that bridge again and contemplate everything I've done to get to this point. That's where I was last night. Um, but that is a nice bridge though. It does make me feel powerful. It makes you feel in control. But in this game, we talk about the weather. It's less about the weather, but also the weather actually is a factor, only because I don't think the Jets are going to trust Zach Wilson to throw. He threw 35 times last week, but they were kind of down a little bit. Actually, Knight got hurt last week as well, so he had to throw a little bit more. I think he would have thrown a little bit less if he didn't have to. But these are two teams. So the Jets are the sixth fastest in pace in seconds per play. The Jaguars are 10th fastest. So the volume works here as well, because I think if there is bad weather, these teams play fast, and if they have 3-and-outs with incompletions or have trouble with the overall wind, I think there's just gonna be a lot of plays run. And if you have more plays, the volume should get there for anybody. The injury's the only concern. He did leave last week with an ankle injury, but I also believe when I was watching that game, he looked like he wasn't too banged up. But at that point, they were down. They were in a pass-heavy script. I just feel like they let Michael Carter play the fourth. He did participate fully in practice yesterday,
But I was
and
just
I
going
think
to
he'd be
check.
good to go.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I just
yeah,
went
he
to
left.
check. Is how he how much he's been
Yeah,
practicing.
yeah, he practiced fully yesterday. He seems good to go. And last week, the biggest thing for me is he had 13 carries for 23 yards.
Yeah,
So he was wildly inefficient, and the Jets still stuck with the run, which is a great sign for his overt attempts, because he was averaging less than 2 yards a carry, and they trust the guy, they like the guy, and they kept just feeding him. And this is a game where I think he has a better chance to, average more than 2 yards. And if he gets going a little bit early, and I'm just saying, I'm talking 2.5, 3 yards a carry. If he just finds any success, which I think he will against the Jaguars, I do think they just will continue to feed him. I think he hits these yards as well. Jacksonville Jaguars allow 118 rushing yards a game, which is like middle of the pack, but they allow the ninth most rushing attempts. They allow teams are actually running 28 times a game against them, so that's a lot.
there's a lot.
It also comes back to the fact that they play fast, and the only time the Jaguars play slow is when they're up 7 or more. And I actually lean the Jets in this game, which is saying a lot. But in my cap of the game, if they rely on Knight and let Wilson just manage the game, I do think they have a good chance in this one. This actually seems like a game where everyone's going to see the Jaguars' big win last week. They're going to see their plus money, and they're just going to get hammered because they're underdogs against Zach Wilson's Jets. But I do think that the home team has an advantage. I'm not saying the Jets will win. I would just lean that way with them being home. So in what should be a neutral game script, I just think he gets, 16, 17 carries. The only time he didn't hit these carries in the last 3 weeks was last week. And I think he would have gotten 2 more carries if he didn't leave in the third quarter with an injury.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that look. You actually mentioned a couple things that tie into a reason why I played my prop. So it's interesting how you broke that down. So yeah, that's a nice spot. I looked at Zonovan a lot. That line is very intriguing to me. So this might just be the push that I needed. And I like looking at like rush attempts and stuff like that, or pass attempts, and see what the books anticipate, because they're pretty fucking smart. So it's almost like a little hint. Obviously, they still have to have efficiency, but if they're anticipating him to have 15-ish carries, that 57 line,
60 yards, 60 yards should come with that.
Yeah, that becomes very intriguing. I actually have like an almost ignorant prop for this game.
Oh no, what does that even mean?
Because this is, I guess you could say that this is a risky one, but I mean, what bet isn't? Yes, we have the weather. There's wind, there's rain. You mentioned sleet as well, potentially. There's game script. There's not really game script concerns. I just wanted to say it. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence over 20.5 completions. And I know off the top that seems kind of weird, but the weather is almost intriguing. Almost intrigues me a little bit more for a prop like this sometimes, rather than scare me away. Now his yards, I actually did consider his yards. It is like a shockingly low number considering his production, but bear with it. You know, the weather's not irrelevant here by any means, of course. Not that he can't get it, but I stayed away. I'm going to kind of walk away from the yards, but the completions is something I think he can get done. You mentioned it a little. I can kind of see a lot of 3-and-outs, short possessions in this one, which oddly enough can kind of do well for Trevor. You know, they should have the ball often. They should run a lot of plays. So he should get a good amount of chances to complete passes here. It was plus 102 on FanDuel. Sorry, I meant to mention that earlier. Now, you know, lately he's just been playing remarkable. He's been phenomenal, really starting to hit his stride, it seems. He's got 57 completions in his last 2 games. His attempts line is set at 33 and a half, so he'd need to complete roughly 61% of his passes in theory to pull this off. And despite the matchup and despite the weather, I kind of like him to do that. Something that you see a little bit more frequently with, it's 105 on DK now. It was minus odds this morning when I took it. So yeah, go take that on DraftKings instead of FanDuel. One thing that we may see more of is short passes, so easier completions to get the ball in hands of like guys like Zay Jones and Christian Kirk and shit, even Evan Ingram, who's kind of broken out over the past couple weeks. So like, you know, you tend to see more shorter throws instead of throwing through the 20-mile-an-hour wind gust. So I think he gets a lot of easy completions. They've just been throwing quite frequently. So, I mean, they might try to run it with Travis Etienne a little bit more tonight, considering the weather, but 20 and a half for a guy that averages about 24. I think that 3 difference is worth the risk, despite the concerns that we have. You know, he is a Florida quarterback, so you do worry about him in conditions like this, but his completion percentage is actually better on the road than it is at home, which is, I found a pretty interesting stat. It's a small difference. It's not like he's blown it away or anything like that, but I thought it was worth noting. And then just finally, like looking at the Jets and their success first quarterback. So they don't give up a lot of yards, but I guess they give up a good amount of shorter completions because a lot of the quarterbacks that have played them have hit this line. 8 of 14 teams, I guess I'll just say teams have hit this line versus them. Some of the guys that missed were Trevor Siemian, Skylar Thompson, and then
the heavy hitters.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky / Kenny Pickett. They both played in that game, combined for 17 completions. Lamar Jackson, I think, had 19. The one that would, I guess, be more so concerning is Josh Allen went under in both of his. They tend to have Josh Allen's number, which is kind of interesting. But the other 8 quarterbacks that they faced were able to hit this line. So Quan says weather's a myth, so I'm rocking with Quan on this one. I think the weather kind of comes into play almost to a benefit with this one. I mentioned easy completions, and I mentioned just quick plays. There should be a lot of plays in this game. They should get the ball back quickly. The Jets aren't a great third down team, so neither team dominates time of possession by any means. In fact, they're both under 30 minutes a game, so I don't think the Jags will necessarily dominate time of possession.
Crazy. Could you imagine if they both were under 30 minutes today? It wouldn't even work.
That would be impressive. Very, very, very impressive. So
for like 2 minutes of the game, the ball is just sitting on the 30-yard line with no one touching it. Yeah,
that'd be pretty much as entertaining as I anticipate this game being. So hoping for line of scrimmage throws to Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Etienne to get a couple catches out of the backfield as well. So I just don't see them really having him air it out, hence why I went for completions rather than yards. Although that completions line, despite the all of the concerns here, is quite tempting. But I did want to take a Lawrence prop, but I think completions makes a lot more sense considering our concerns here.
I agree. This should be a game where I think a lot of the volume props will be winners. They'll go up because there should be a lot of plays. But I do think the under could still be a factor. I'm not personally taking the under 37.5, but I do think this is a game where, it might be one of those frustrating games where each team runs 70 plays and then the score is 3-2 and you don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same boat. I worry a little bit about Knight's yards more than the volume, but I do think that if he gets 15, 16 carries, I mean, I just need, at that point, 3-4 yards of carry against a team I think is beatable. The Jaguars' defense is also so bad in the passing game where I think that sometimes their running game, like their run stop, is hurt by how bad they are in the secondary because sometimes they try to sell out to make sure they're not giving up big plays. And they get gashed for inside runs. So that's how I see this game. I think there should be a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of quicker possessions, as you mentioned. If any of it looks, I looked at because you mentioned Lawrence is over. I looked at Evan Ingram because Evan Ingram is all of a sudden the whipping boy of the NFL, changed to the best tight end to ever live. I don't know how that happened. He's like what? He's like fantasy. He's been like the #1 tight end in fantasy for like the last 6 or 7 weeks.
Well, yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Well, okay. FanDuel did a super boost for ETN to score a touchdown and under 39.5 points. So
Interesting.
that's interesting. So ETN might not score. Who's the backup running back? It's
It's not James anymore. That's a good question. Who is
yeah.
their backup these days?
Would it be? It's
Could be Trevor. It could be Trevor Lawrence that gets the rushing touchdown.
Yeah. Do they? I guess they use Agnew in that kind of.
Yes, that's right.
In that realm, and I think they have Hasty or whatever. I forget, but yeah, that's an interesting boost. But I did look at Evan Ingram. If you look at Evan Ingram, his receiving yards is around 38.5, and his receptions are about. I didn't see any reception line before the show, but he's a guy where you mentioned I might have looked into him if they had a good reception line for him. But so far, it's just yards, and I don't trust yards in what's supposed to be a horrible, horrible weather game.
Yeah.
So that's not that's not FanDuel boost. It's McAfee. Yeah, but it's still boosted on FanDuel. So
that's all we're implying there.
Yeah,
I do get a little bit more intrigued by the Pat boost rather than just the FanDuel boost. So I definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I get the Pat makes it, but he also is partnered with FanDuel, so it's still a FanDuel boost. But that's an interesting one. I mean, it's like what plus 500 is a thing.
Yeah, I don't hate him. I mean, the odds are quite intriguing.
Yeah,
they hit a 750 not that long ago. I don't know if it was that last week, Sam. The Kittles.
Yeah, it hit last week.
Right? Yeah,
it did hit last week.
That was awesome. So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
500. That's I wonder what kind of EV we're getting on that.
Very, very nice. Especially because I don't know. I wonder what. I don't know. I guess I'm more worried about the touchdown at that point. But yeah, that's an interesting boost. But that's how I kind of see this game. Did you want to move on to the pick of popular plays? Because I do think if you're looking at this game, we kind of covered who we leaned the under, over, and some props. What is ETN's rush? I mean, his receiving.
15.5, I think.
14.5.
I have a Sunday prop before we move on, though.
Oh, you do? Okay, take your Sunday. Yeah, go for it. I actually did not get a chance to look fully into the holiday games yet. The Saturday prop, idiot.
Oh fuck!
this guy.
I have a weekend prop. I said a weekend prop.
You said Sunday. All right.
You guys heard me wrong.
Just go through your Saturday prop before you lose connection again.
Yeah, no shit. All right, so there you go. Sam mentioned something. Also, one thing before I talk about it, Sam earlier in the chat said no touchdown at plus 5,200 is, say what you want. Fairly intriguing. At least if we do have a 0-0 or 3-3 stinker going in the half, it gives you something to sweat on, have some fun with. As far as my Saturday prop, as I called it the first time before I was called out, I'm going Dalvin Cook over 73.5 rushing yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. I don't believe FanDuel has a line for this yet, which is fairly typical by the time we do this show. We're pretty much kind of taking it on DraftKings and hoping there isn't a better line, which is not in the most comfortable position. So if you did want to wait, I understand. There was enough to like about this that I went ahead and took it. So I'll get into that. I don't hold the stat at a massive regard, but he averages 4.7 yards per carry at home, 4.2 on the road. The Giants matchup is just so beautiful these days. The Giants are allowing a league worst 5.4 yards per carry. And over the last 3 games, that's jumped to 6.2 yards per carry, which is just absolutely insane. The Giants have allowed the 3rd most rushing yards in the league at 150.4 over the last 3 weeks. That's jumped to 192.3. One of the more one more thing. Hit rate, if that's your kind of thing, he's hit 9 of 14 this season. And I think we're getting a nice line because he did have 2 just massive duds that have kept his season average lower. So like without those games, he'd probably average a lot closer to 85, 90. But he has like 2 games in the 20s that's kept his average about 74 yards a game. Hence why I think we're getting this line. One of the most fascinating parts about this is their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, I believe is his name, and the success he has with him versus the lack of success he has without him. So Darrisaw missed 3 of the last 4 weeks. He played last week, but he missed the 3 weeks prior. In those games, Cook had 23 yards against the Lions on 1.5 yards per carry. He had 86 yards on 4.3 yards per carry, which is solid. Then he had 42 yards on 1.9 yards per carry. The prior 6 games that he's played with Darrisaw playing, he rushed for 95 yards with 5.6 yards per carry. Against the Cowboys, he had 72 on 6.5 yards per carry. Against the Bills, he had 119, 8.5 yards per carry. Commanders, he actually did struggle on that one. He had 47 with 2.8 yards per carry. Cardinals, he went for 111 with 5.6 yards per carry. Dolphins, 77 yards with 5.9 yards per carry. So you kind of get what I'm getting at. Without Darrisaw in those 3 games, he averaged 50. In the past 6 games that he had him playing at left tackle, he's averaged 86.8 yards. So Darrisaw is healthy. He will be starting at left tackle. And this is arguably at this point for running back the best matchup you can get. I mean, you could easily argue the Texans is the best matchup, but if we want to call them one, I would definitely call the Giants 2. So 73.5 stuck out to me, and very, very happy with that line.
Yeah, and if in case you're wondering, FanDuel did open a line at 70.5. No, it's 78.5. You're good. It's 78.5. It's 78.5. I just want to see your reaction. It opened at 56.5. It's crazy. You missed out big time.
Shit. Is it still 73 on DraftKings then?
I've not checked. I just saw the 78.
Here, let's see.
Because if so, I might take that. I do like that look. The Giants are in shambles right now.
It's still 73.5. So there's a 5-yard difference right now between DraftKings and FanDuel.
I might hop on that with you then. I think it's good luck. Dalvin Cook has been very interesting this year. Where, as you mentioned, it's very hit or miss at times, but this is a great matchup for him. Yeah. And Sam was the one that was asking about if we're not going to cover any of the weekend. There's weirdly enough, there's props on Saturday, and last week when there was game Saturday, they came out so early. This is the only game that has props out. Like no other game has props out, which is kind of frustrating because they are on Saturday this week. So yeah. I was hoping to get them out earlier. So there's no other props out. Someone mentioned Dallas Goedert in the chat. If I get a Dallas Goedert receiving line, I will take the over with no doubt. Do you remember last year where Gardner Minshew came in for a game, and I think Dallas Goedert had 7 touchdowns in a game, and then he also caught, I think he caught 63 passes or whatever. I think Gardner Minshew, there was a time where it was 3 weeks. Goddard did nothing. It was pissing me off as an Eagles fan. And Minshew came in and he had the game of his life. And I remember yelling at the TV, being just like sitting there with my family, yelling at the TV, saying, "This is how we should use Goddard, and we don't throw him enough." And I was on my soapbox for like the entire game, watching Dallas Goedert ball out.
That was against the Jets.
Yeah.
And he had 6 catches, 105, and 2 touchdowns. So intriguing. Yeah. You'd assume after all of the time that he spent hurt that we wouldn't bring him back unless he was at least pretty damn close to 100%. So I find it really intriguing when a guy is out for a long time. You hope that the team brings him back when they're fully ready, and you might just so happen to get a discounted line on yards. So
Dallas with the best quarterback in the league, and it's in Dallas. So it's one of those things where if it misses, you just gotta accept it, because you get the Dallas namesake in Dallas against, the team he grew up with and all that stuff. So this is just one of those spots where if they give me a line, I'll take it.
Yeah. Skeeter Beaver in the chat said, they will open it at 43.5, and
they always do. He averages like 70 yards a game, and he always gets, I think for most of the year it was in the 30s, and then it finally moved up to 45, 44, those kind of range. But yeah, he gets undervalued there. His
Yeah.
touchdowns plus 280. If you like touchdown scores, that's an interesting one. I do think this is one of those games where the Eagles. We all know they love to run. We saw it with Miles Sanders last week. They just love to feed their running
Yeah, we
backs.
did, didn't we? What the
That
hell
game
was
pissed
that?
me off.
How many
Yeah,
carries did he have at half? 3? 2 maybe?
three.
That's awesome.
I do think there is. I think there is an overcorrection by Nick Sirianni. He always does this. I actually might take Miles Sanders props again
Yep.
because Sirianni loves to overcorrect when he screws up, and he definitely screwed up that game by not establishing the run early. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sanders gets 20 carries this week. But
in
I
that
do think
Dallas Goddard in that Goddard game last year that he went off and Gardner Minshew played, Miles Sanders had 24 carries in that game. So
yeah,
worth
no,
noting.
there's room for them to both play. But yeah, that's how Sirianni is. I mean, I thought we almost lost to the Bears because the refusal to just get a drive going. I was like I said, I was watching with my brothers, Eagles family here, and I was complaining that we weren't running all game. And then third quarter, Miles Sanders got a handoff. He went for 1 yard. My brother was like, "See, this is why we throw it." And I was like, "No, man. At least we're taking some damn clock off the board. Like we can't keep these 3 and outs. That's a whole separate thing." But point is, Goddard's in a great spot. So is Miles Sanders, but there's no other props really out for the weekend games yet, which is very frustrating.
Yeah, it's annoying.
So do you think we are ready for the Pickett popular plays? I actually I haven't looked at all, but if you
I have no idea what they are.
If you're unaware, our sponsors at Pickett Sports have a great app to track your bets, but also it's cool to see what people are playing. And there's actually a lot of hand on this game. All 3 of the Pickett popular players have over 1,000 bets on the Pickett app, and they're all in this game. Number 1 is Trevor Lawrence. It looks like the Sharps are taking under 20.5 completions. That's crazy. Wow, that's
too bad.
No, I'm kidding. Once again, we always say this, but even for Trevor Lawrence, the most bet prop for him is anytime TD.
Of course.
We do this segment.
Kind of intriguing this week. I've thought about it. It's not a bad play.
I know Quan has him parlayed with him and Wilson. But if you are if you're new to the show, we do this segment every week, and every single week, the most popular bet for every single player is their touchdown.
I believe Zion Williamson's most popular bet last week was anytime touchdown.
Yes, it was a TD, right? Or that's triple double. Damn, I forgot the conversion there. Yeah. But no, I personally don't bet as much. I used to bet more on anytime touchdowns, and then this year kind of was a down year for touchdowns. I gave up on them early, but people love the anytime touchdown bets. So Trevor Lawrence is his most bet. Second is his passing yards. Some people actually have him laddered up. I guess I can see that. I saw some people I like on his under. I do think it's one of those games where he could have, as you mentioned, 21 completions, but the yards are a little bit tougher. Yeah, the yards are a little bit tougher. Jets defense, I mean, it's stout, it's the first time in a while they've actually had a defense that can, stop anything. So they do have really good outside cornerbacks. They have a good secondary. I would be surprised if he has a lot of completions, but it's all underneath stuff. They usually tackle well. So that's a tougher one.
Yeah.
He also has some love for his rushing yards, which we mentioned. And I do think if he does struggle in this, the weather plus the good coverage, I think he has a few scrambles where I think his rushing yards could be an interesting look.
Yeah. I do too. I thought about him and Wilson rushing yards, to be honest. I just I didn't pull the trigger. I struggle with quarterback rushing yards and running back receiving yards, especially running back receiving yards. But that'll perfect segue. We haven't had a perfect segue yet, but segue into the second most popular play on Pickett, which is Travis Etienne. Guess what the most bet market is for Travis Etienne?
I'm gonna go rushing yards.
You're an idiot. Touchdown.
Damn it. I knew that too. I was just talking about that.
Yeah, he has been bet to score a touchdown 1,100 more times than people have bet his rushing yards. So yes, Travis Etienne touchdown is obviously his most popular prop. From there,
that's going to go up too. It's going to go up with the boost. They just carried that boost, so that's going to go even higher.
Yeah, absolutely. His rush yards is the next best. I definitely looked at Etienne's rushing yards. It's intriguing. It's tempting. I couldn't quite find enough there to commit. I mean, he's a guy. I guess he's fairly similar to Dalvin Cook, who I did commit to, but I don't like the matchup quite as much. But he's a guy who he can rush for 90 tonight, or he could rush for 20, and neither one would really phase me. I didn't see quite enough there to bite on that rushing yards
He's
line.
definitely fun to watch, though. I will say, if you have his over, he's very fun to watch. He runs hard. He's fun. I think it's funny that in the world of media or fantasy or betting media, I think ETN went from the golden child of fantasy drafts. Then he had like one bad week, and everyone did a victory lap saying that he sucks and that they were right for not drafting him. And then 3 weeks later, he was a golden child, and everyone was doing a victory lap that he was the best choice all along. But all that, circus BS aside, he's a very talented runner.
He's
I
terrific.
do like he's awesome. I mean, I like to watch him play. He's very talented. I looked at his R&R, his 85.5 rushing plus receiving, because
Yeah.
he is a guy that can get involved either way. But as you said, despite all of that, it's just one of those props where I didn't see enough on it where he could rush for 200 yards, and as long as I'm not playing with fantasy, I'd be all for it. But it's just one of those props where I didn't really buy enough into it.
Yeah. One that I do find fairly intriguing and kind of ties into my opinion on how this game will go is his reception yard, or I'm sorry, his reception yards. His receptions is plus 126 on FanDuel for over 2.5. It's something he's hit 6 times. So, it's not a massive hit rate, but in a game like this, like that's intriguing. It's not something I've taken, but it's definitely catches your eye. I don't mind that one at all.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah, I do think that's a good look. And then I mean, talking about Travis Etienne, 3-letter word. If you just say Etienne,
ETN. That's how I learned how to say his name. It
Etienne.
tripped me up for a little while, but it's
Yeah,
actually
which
the
and
easiest
three
name
let
in the
three
NFL.
letters that parlays us into the next play. It's a perfect segue into
Beautiful.
Garrett Wilson. I don't know how, but we're just gonna go with it. But Garrett Wilson, most bet player prop is anytime touchdown scorer. He is, I guess, one of those things where people are on his receiving yards as well. What his receiving yards have moved a little bit. They actually, a lot of receiving yards has dropped because he was at 58, 59.5, and I think he's down to 56 or 55.5 because a lot of these props are just dying out because of the weather.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for someone like me that's on night, I don't necessarily love it only because I mean he's so talented. Garrett Wilson's actually very surprising with how great he's been so far
Yeah.
this year. But
He's wonderful.
the way I look at this game, I just don't know. I mean, I don't like to bet based off weather, but I feel more comfortable being on, like a more run heavy game script with the Jets than I would with them trusting. Like I said, Wilson threw the ball 35 times last week, but they were down to the Lions and it felt like they just had to. They couldn't get the run going. The Lions are somehow so good at stopping the run the last 5 weeks. I don't know what happened there. They
Dude,
flipped
they
the
are
switch.
so good.
They're so good. And I don't think they're going to have as little success on the ground as it did last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just let Knight cook a little bit.
Yeah. It was very tempting. Here, Eli's dropping some stats for us. 30,
Yeah, that was what I was going to
yards come
mention
after
is
the catch.
the
30.
yak is where I'm interested in this spot. 39. I'm looking at DJ Eli here. 39% of his yards come after the catch. That's the big thing for me. He's the only guy I would touch on the Jets in the receiving game because in the cold weather, I think yak comes into play a lot because you can just make a guy miss in the cold, wet, rain there.
Yeah, second most short middle yards. That's interesting. Yeah, good stats, Eli. If you liked Wilson, but we're kind of on the on the fence about it, that may have just pushed you over that fence. Those are definitely some nice stats to bring into play there.
I guess it's funny. I say the only one I would touch would be him on the Jets, but I guess he's the only guy that can catch a pass on the Jets too. So it's
And
very
don't
it's very
disrespect
interesting.
Tyler
There.
Conklin like that.
I do like Tyler Conklin though.
But yeah, I guess just for the sake of it's all football players, as it typically is on our Thursday show, the most bet NBA player is CJ McCollum.
Which
His,
is just
his
anytime
assist,
touchdown scorer.
yeah, that's right. His anytime touchdown score has 9,000 bets. His assists have 595 bets. So pretty much all of them being over. So yeah, It's definitely an intriguing one considering his success in the game so far without Zion and Brandon and the matchup. So I definitely like the look. I would love to get it at something other than minus 140. And honestly, if I took McCollum assist, I'd bite the bullet and go take 8 for plus 130 instead of the
Yeah.
juice 6.5 personally.
Yeah, and the Spurs just play so, like I said, they play so fast that he should have plenty of chances. We just need Trey Murphy to make his shots, right? That's what we're
right.
talking about today. Yeah,
Damn
so
right.
I do think the Pickett community is on a lot of the props I figured people would be on.
For sure.
I'm gonna be very intrigued to see how this game plays out. I do think it's a good spot for Zion Knight. I do think ETN's hit a good spot, but as you mentioned, and Dougie P in general, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more quick passes than we see a lot of runs from ETN. So I think they get him involved other ways. But yeah, this is, like I said, this is a game where a lot of pace for both these teams, but actual offensive talent and scoring is just not their forte. So it should be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, interesting is a good way to say it for sure.
Yeah. So to recap, the only play I have so far in this night overall is I'm on Zonovan Knight over 14.5 carries or rushing attempts on FanDuel minus 114. And I also took his over 57.5 rushing yards on MGM at minus 110. So I'm on both props. I split up my units, half unit each. And then Ryan, if you want to cover what you had on the
Sure,
show.
of course. Yeah, I went Trey Murphy of the Pelicans to go over 14.5 points. It's minus 110 on DraftKings. And then I went Trevor Lawrence over 20.5 completions at plus 102 for tonight. And then peeking into Saturday, I went Dalvin Cook over 73.5 rushing yards at minus 115 on DraftKings.
I think that's solid. I do think if you ever tune into the show, we appreciate it. But also, there is times where, despite sometimes having a lack of volume, I do think it's nice just to kind of break down the games and different angles because it kind of helps me set up what I'm going to look at later. Because even though there's no props out for certain things, it's nice to kind of break down the outlook of the game. So we appreciate everyone that was in the chat, everyone that watched. Do you want to sign us out, Ryan? You're usually the best at signing us out.
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and shout out props.cash for the subs, of course. But I was letting Ryan do that because it was his legacy play that got 10 subs by props.cash. The legacy CJ McCollum play.
Yes. Yeah, we got 10 subs from props.cash. We got 10 subs from an anonymous person. So that's pretty awesome. That's very heavily appreciated. And that helps us a lot. So thank you again for all of that. And this will conclude another episode of Ryan and Brian Talk Sports. And we are brought to you by Pickett Sports and props.cash. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments in the section. And it's been a good time as always.